While peace talks stall, the war machines are moving. Late September, the USS Gerald R carrier strike group led one of NATO's largest exercises in years. Neptune Strike 25-3, over 10,000 troops, 20 ships and submarines, FA-18 Super Hornets, launching from the deck, operating from the Mediterranean to the Baltic Sea, right on Russia's doorstep. This isn't diplomacy. This is a show of force.
The UK has been very clear that NATO first is our approach at a strategic level. We recognise the importance of not just UK and national, but the transatlantic security. So this is just another opportunity to prove what the UK can do and contribute to NATO, but also what it can do in terms of making it scalable and to reassure our allies and our partner forces of our contribution.
The reason for the muscle flex? The geopolitical situation is deteriorating. Russian drones are violating Polish and Estonian airspace. NATO has warned Russia it will use all means to defend against further breaches. The French Navy says the tension is real, and Europe needs protection now.
Currently, the geopolitical situation in the region is rather tense, so it's important to show that NATO is capable of ensuring the security of Europe's borders. This type of exercise is an excellent way to demonstrate the ability and willingness of NATO nations to provide protection.
As negotiations stall, Ukraine is asking for weapons that could fundamentally change the conflict. At the UN General Assembly, President Zelenskyy asked President Trump for Tomahawk cruise missiles. Range, 1,000 miles. That would put Moscow itself in Ukraine's crosshairs, a potential game changer that has Russia's full attention.
That issue of Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine was brought up by President Zelenskyy to President Trump at the UN General Assembly last week in New York City. There has been no comment either, yes, it's going to happen, or no, it's going to happen. The acknowledgement from, again, in the public reports is they were asked for. That is obviously something that has been picked up by the world press, obviously picked up by the Russians as well, simply because of the capability and the capacity of the weapon system. The weapon system is, in fact, by itself, to me, it's a game changer, only because how good it is, and somebody who's seen it used multiple times in multiple conflicts. So that's probably the biggest issue that came out of UNGA in the bilateral discussions that President Zelenskyy and President Trump had.
So where does the military balance stand in a potential US versus Russia scenario? Kellogg laid it out bluntly. Europe alone has overwhelming air superiority. 400 F-35s versus Russia's 100. America isn't even in that count. The conventional military advantage is decisive.
Today, I can give you 6 European nations that have invested in the F-35 program. You can put up, or we'll be able to put up very soon, 400 F-35s in the air. The most the Russians can put up are 100. You can sweep the skies with the F-35s without a single American F-35 up. And when you look at things like what the Dutch have done, giving the F-16s to Ukraine, the shoot-downs of some of those drones of F-16s, it's there. And I would just say to the alliance, you're better than you think you are. And have a lot of confidence in that.
But military superiority doesn't equal peace. Kellogg says the goal is to stop Europe's largest land war since World War II. Yet every indication suggests that goal is slipping away as both sides prepare for escalation, not resolution.
When we talk about balance, how much equipment is the United States military sending to Russia to use against Ukrainians? None. How much are they sending in supporting the alliance to Ukraine? So when you look at a leadership level, I think as anybody who's ever been involved in negotiations, you understand you have to have a balanced view to make sure you can bring to a conclusion. The biggest thing we want to do is stop the largest land war in Europe since World War II.
People from all over the world, from the Congo,
And here's the most dangerous sign that diplomacy is failing. President Trump has already deployed nuclear submarines to the Russian coast, not as a last resort, as an active deterrent right now. Strategic nuclear assets positioned in response to Russian nuclear threats. This is the language of confrontation, not negotiation.
We were a little bit threatened by Russia recently, and I sent a submarine, nuclear submarine, the most lethal weapon ever made. Number one, you can't detect it. There's no way. A submarine or two, I won't say about the two, over to the coast of Russia, just to be careful, because we can't let people throw around that word. I call it the N-word. There are two N-words, and you can't use either of them.
So is US versus Russia happening? Could it happen any time? Here are the facts. America's most advanced aircraft carrier just finished strike exercises in European waters. Ukraine is requesting missiles that can hit Moscow. Nuclear submarines are positioned off Russia's coast. Russian drones are violating NATO airspace. NATO has issued warnings about using all means to respond. The peace talks have failed to stop any of this. Instead, we're watching both sides deploy their war machines, position their assets, and prepare for scenarios nobody wants to say out loud. The question isn't whether tensions are escalating anymore. The question is whether anyone can still pull back before those war machines actually engage.